This is High School Not So Much a Musical, a podcast that takes you on a ride through the peaks and valleys of a high school journey. Here are your presenters, Nitin Jaladanki and Ayush Agarwal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to High School Not So Much a Musical, the podcast made by high schoolers for high schoolers. Today, we're joined with Samhith Padala, a sophomore from Arizona who has a photography business. So, Samhith, could you talk to us a little bit about your education, what grade you're in, where you're located, etc.?
Yeah, so my name is Samhith. I am a current sophomore in University High School in Phoenix. So I am a native of Phoenix. I was born and raised here. I absolutely love it here. I started my business as a seventh grader. So I've been running my business for about 3 years now.
All right.
So,
can you just talk a little bit about
what
your business
one interesting
does?
thing is, if you recognize this guy's voice, it's because he's the person who you've been hearing for the last 15 weeks now doing our intro. So if you recognize his voice, that's who he is. Go ahead, Ayush.
Okay. So could you talk a little bit more about what exactly your photography business does? When you talked about when you started, but it's pretty impressive that you started a business back in 7th grade, where I don't even know what I was doing in 7th grade. But yeah, could you talk a little bit about what gave you the idea for your business, how you were able to start it at such a young age, how you were able to get clients at such a young age? Like, a photography business is like pretty expensive, like the service is pretty high quality, but so it's kind of interesting that people were still accepting your services at the age of at the grade of 7. So could you talk a little bit about what you did to market?
Yeah, for sure. So I started my business as a 7th grader in November of 2018. So back then, I purchased a Google Pixel XL. That was one of my main cameras at the time. I had a Canon DSLR. I believe it was a EOS Rebel T4i. I used that as well for photography, but when I got my Pixel, I really enjoyed having a great camera that I can take beautiful pictures of the world. So I started taking so many beautiful pictures, and I realized that I could basically market these images online and sell these images to companies. I can sell them to magazines for licensing, sell them to like stock images for commercial use. So that's what I started doing. So as a 7th grader, I created a small little side hustle. I wanted to see how far my photography can take me. So after a couple of months doing this mini side hustle, selling or licensing my photos that I was taking from my Pixel to certain companies, I started getting more people on my team. So in May of 2019, I got my first team member to work alongside me. And me and him collaborated in such a way that we both were taking photos and were basically licensing them out. And then two weeks after I got the second team member, this first team member, he gave me the idea of doing photo shoots. I was honestly very intrigued with that. As a 7th grader back then, I was very hesitant to do photo shoots because first, my age. I was a 7th grader. I was about 12, 13 years old. People will basically not take me seriously. And that really put me back in a sense where I was scared. But my team member pushed me forward saying, hey, I think you can do it. So immediately we started working on a website to start marketing. We did Google ads for the Phoenix area to start a little photography business, and we named this photography business Sync Photography. Immediately, we got another team member, so this is our 3rd team member, including me, into our mini team, and we started doing photo shoots across Arizona. In a matter of, I would say, 2-3 months, all team members got around 30 photo shoots in total. So for birthday parties, one wedding, a couple of events, corporate events, family outings, family portraits, a lot of these different photography services that people wanted. And immediately that's when it clicked. This business can really be something for me. So from this point on, we started expanding. We started getting team members from different parts of the US, not only in Phoenix. So immediately we got a hiree from Los Angeles, one person in Portland, Oregon, one person in Houston. I believe the next one was in Tampa, and then Raleigh, and a lot of these other cities across the United States. And through this point, I was getting into my 8th grade year of schooling, and this is when we started expanding our business to India. The current way our business is set up is our headquarters is in Phoenix, Arizona, and in Visakhapatnam, India. So in the start of 8th grade, we expanded to India and started doing the exact same services, photography and overall these services to the Indian market. And from here, we started expanding into photography, and then also we started doing videography to these services. But then later on, as my 8th grade year started and continued, COVID started. And with COVID, we had to drastically cut down on everything. But we did create a new business plan, and we're doing very well now.
So Samhith, one of the interesting things about like a photography business is that it just requires like finding people and having the materials and everything like that. And having started one of my own businesses myself, and Samhith and I had like this crazy encounter with Comet drones, which I'm pretty sure we can get into later. Samhith, I'm pretty sure you remember what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Regards like trademark, intellectual property, and all of that that can directly apply to sync photography. But one of the questions that I had was, what was your motivation to starting this business? So you talked about your phone, and you talked about how you saw this need, but how exactly were you able to establish credibility among such it's such a concentrated market that there's so many other things that you can sign up for, because you can go on Etsy, you can go on Groupon, there's JCPenney portraits, Macy's portraits, and everything like that. What gave you the confidence to go into such a concentrated market and that you could succeed in that market?
Well, I'm a type of person where if I want to do something, I'll probably do it. And at the time, I wasn't risking too much financially. I was using all of my own personal products. So I decided, hey, why not try it out? My team members pushing me towards it, and I started to feel more confident that I could do something. And that gamble ended up being very good for me. And with this gamble, right, we were having encounters where people were not taking me seriously because of my age. And yes, who trusts a 13-year-old? And it was quite challenging for me at first, encountering these companies or certain clients who didn't trust me because I was a teenager and still am, right? But with the motivation of team members, I just kept moving forward and deciding if they don't trust me, I should not be worried about that, because that's bound to happen. But this is all just a learning experience.
So you said that you covered everything financially and you used your own equipment to take pictures. And we have a lot of fellow young entrepreneurs who want to create a business that are listening right now. So what did you do to afford this camera equipment as a high school student? For example, do you invest money that you earned through the business into equipment? And how did you just start out?
Yeah, so my initial investment to the business, my Canon DSLR that I first started using, it was my father's camera that he gave to me as a birthday present in 5th grade. He said I should, if you want, you can use it. And I started using it a lot after I got my Google Pixel. And my Google Pixel, I had gotten a new phone that year, and I really wanted to have a Google Pixel because I wanted the native Android OS. And Google Pixel has a really good camera system, and 2 and 2 made sense, and I just really love photography from there. So I didn't put in any of my own money towards buying the camera. I put in my money towards a phone, which ended up being also a camera. But using whatever profits I was making from Sync, I was able to purchase newer equipment such as a EOS R5 mirrorless camera, or MacBooks or an iPad for video editing or photo editing, or many of these other equipment needs that I or others would have.
So you talked about how at the beginning you were able to use your father's equipment in order to start off. Now, I think for startups in general, one of the biggest challenges is just getting like initial revenue. And it's the same thing for like our podcast, right? We're kind of in a phase right now where we're just trying to expand, get more viewership. And that startup phase it can be discouraging because if you're not getting initial clients, or for us, if you're not getting initial viewers to the podcast, then it can be heartbreaking to like keep going forward. But I think just having the discipline to like for us continue like posting every week and for you to continue offering services is what eventually leads to long-term growth. So could you talk a bit about were the profits and revenues you were making at the beginning of your business what you expected to make? Were you happy with them? Were you like disappointed with them? And were you able to push through that to the point where you're at a point where you're like relatively happy with the profits you're currently making?
Yeah, for sure. So in the beginning, I wasn't expecting to make much, but what ended up happening was I immediately started making profit through photo licensing to companies. So the first day I started my business, I licensed out one of my photos to a magazine, and that immediately was profit because I hadn't put any of my own money towards the business, and we were making immediately cash flow. So I was definitely happy back then, and I'm still very happy now because that really motivated me to do better. And currently, as of now, as our Sync entered into the NFT space, a lot of our revenue is coming through cryptocurrency, through Ethereum. And with that, we are making quite a bit of profit as cryptocurrency is growing up in price. So I'm definitely happy with how our profits have been.
So you mentioned how your close friends, or I don't know how close you are with them, how they motivated you, like, and you gave the example to like go and do photo shoots. So I just have like a question. So are they like in the same grade as you, or are they older than you?
So the initial team members were a bit older than me. They were 2-3 years older than me. They had their own cameras that they had for gaming, and just overall they wanted to create vlogging channels for YouTube. So they had certain cameras and they wanted to do photo shoots. So they were a bit older than me. They were I believe they were in high school at the time. Now they're in college, but they started using these small camcorders for their photography. So that really motivated me to see, hey, if these camcorders are taking really good photos, that I could do really good with other camera gear, and that just further motivated me. And with their overall mental support, that really pushed me forward.
Yeah, so along with that, I think one thing that can benefit our listeners is to interact and be around with people that are older than you. Because in your example, they were like in high school when you were in 7th grade, and it pushed you to go and do photo shoots, and it's probably a big reason to why like your business is as successful as it is today. So as of right now, like, do you know like how many clients you have roughly, and can you talk about some of the most like notable ones?
Yeah, so we've had to this day around 500 individual clients, companies. This includes individuals, companies, and overall organizations. We strive to provide the best services to all of our clients, regardless of who they are. We do not discriminate against anyone. We truly pride ourselves in the way we treat all of our clients. Some of our most notable clients was with our entrance into political marketing in the election of 2020. We got in touch with two of the major presidential candidates of 2020. So we did a bipartisan partnership between two very prominent candidates that I will not name, but we worked together closely with each of their teams to provide political advertising, political advice, and overall just like graphic media assistance to their teams.
So I wanted to get back to the question about intellectual property and such, because as Rishi was saying and as Samhith was saying, all of this stuff takes like so much time and energy and money to like form this business, and then when somebody either knocks you off or runs away with all your material or something like that, it's really hurtful to the business, because all of this work that you've done is completely gone to waste. So Samhith, I just wanted to ask you, and then I can talk about my personal experience, but I remember that when we first met in around I would say like October of 2020, you were dealing with an intellectual property case in which you had to take down your whole website domain and that you had to reformat it and everything like that. So could you talk about, for everybody who's listening who doesn't know what intellectual property is, what copyright is, just very basic, maybe 10-second definitions, and the problems that you had with it and your experience overall, and then I can elaborate further.
Yeah, so intellectual property is digital property or just property that a company holds, whether it be an idea or how any images, files, anything of that sort. And copyright is a legal protections for these said media files. So, for example, if I take a photo on a camera, I immediately get copyright rights to that image because that is my image and I took it. So legally, it is under my copyright.
So then could you talk a little bit about the problem that you had with copyright and everything like that? Because you were mentioning a while ago that that there was some problem that you had with copyright and everything like that, and that you had to reformat the website domain and such. So could you talk a little bit about your experience with it?
Yeah. So we had a real estate agent, an entire real estate agency in the city of Phoenix, who basically started using our images, so without any permission. And what ended up happening was there was this dispute between the real estate agency and a sink. At the time, we were very confused at what was going on, because we never really experienced any major copyright litigation or any intellectual property disputes. So as a precautionary, we took down our website. We temporarily shut down our social media pages, Instagram, 500 pixels, TikTok, and Twitter, and many other social media platforms that we were on, as a precautionary measure to see where the individual was taking our photos and how they were able to profit off them.
So I think that this is really similar. Well, not very similar, but Samhith, we can go back and forth on this. But if you remember, I would say maybe like August of 2021, or maybe earlier than that, we ran into a lot of trouble with my startup Comet Drones, in which this was all created in an incubator. The whole idea for Comet Drones was created in an incubator, and Comet Drones is basically just like, it's high school drone education. So it's just a course and a kit that we sell for high schoolers, and it's made for the high school market. And because this was made in an incubator, it was 4 people working on the idea. There was no clear rights on whose the property was and everything like that. So what had happened was, after a while, we all just stopped talking. And then two of the people just ran away with some of the material and said, we don't want to be part of Comrade anymore. We're starting our own company and stuff like that. So that's one of the problems that we faced. So Samhith, could you talk for anybody out there? Could you talk a little bit about how people can protect themselves against happening what happened to you and I, and how, if they are starting a business, how important intellectual property and copyright is, and how they can avoid getting their property stolen?
Yeah, so intellectual property and overall copyright rights are very important for anyone. What I highly suggest is if there's any new photographer coming about, I really recommend creating a watermark for a lot of your images. Though yes, people could Photoshop or alter your image in a way that your watermark could be taken out. Having a watermark on images that you post or give to people is really important because first, it brings exposure to your business, saying, hey, this is who took the photo. And second, it's a sort of protection for your photo in case if anyone wants to screenshot it. Secondly, intellectual property, it's important for all businesses that you encounter while doing anything related to intellectual property, that you have to disclose everything in a sense where, hey, this is my property. I'm giving you these rights. I'm not giving you these rights. And you have to make everything clear. One bad thing that many people who I know do is they don't make things clear, which is what happened to Samhith in his case, where miscommunication brought Comet to kind of had a dispute between intellectual property. See, so like overall, just having proper communication between the multiple parties is really key for making sure copyright and overall intellectual property is not being infringed on.
So one of the main things that somebody obviously uses to copyright is the name, right? I can't just create another company called Google. It doesn't work like that. That's copyrighted. I wanted to ask you how you came up with a name for your company, because I feel like Sync is a very interesting name in that it's super, super simple, right? Just Sync. But at the same time, it's very catchy because it's so short. I remember it at the top of my head, Sync. And also, it kind of defines like a photography business, kind of like being able to connect multiple people through arts. So if you could talk a little bit about how you came up with the name for your business, that'd be great.
Well, you just summed it up right there. We wanted to connect people to the arts. We believe that arts in general is important for anyone, because the way we communicate is through art. Speaking is an art. Music is an art. Photography is an art. Art really helps humans detox from the stresses of life, and we believe that Sync really emphasizes that. The way that our business is set up is that from start to finish, everything is so streamlined. Everything from booking to receiving your files that a client requests, it's all streamlined, and everything we do is all simple, just like our name, Sync. It's 4 letters, and which is one of the reasons why my business recently did its first major rebranding. So we went from Sync Photography to Sync Visual Media to portray our recent changes, because we no longer are just a photography service. We offer photography, videography, we offer photo licensing, political marketing, photography education. We do NFT services. We do so many of these other graphic media services. So Sync Visual Media is our new name that we are very proud of.
Now, if you look at some of the clubs at our school, DECA is like very, very popular. I think it's maybe one of the most popular clubs at our school. It has at least 80 members.
Yeah, it's
Meaning
74
that
members this year, the most popular club.
Wow.
74. All right. Anyway, the point I was trying to get across is a lot of people are interested in business and are interested in entrepreneurship. And starting a company young can be a very good learning experience because it's very similar to starting investing young, right? That knowledge that you gain compounds with you over time and helps you out in future ventures. So if you could give some tips to the audience, anyone else, any young person with an entrepreneurial mindset on how they can best accomplish their entrepreneurial goals and get started as an entrepreneur like you did with your photography business, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. So to any young entrepreneur out there, one piece of advice that I would want to give you is if you have an idea and you want to pursue something that you're very passionate about, do it. I wouldn't recommend doing something just for the sake of getting money or any other satisfaction. If something's giving you real motivation and you're really passionate about, for example, art, if you like painting, if you like making beats, if you like doing car mods, if you like tweaking electronics, these all these different trades out there, if people are very passionate about it and they really put their mindset towards it, I truly believe that you could create a successful business based on the way that you put your mindset. If, for example, I was very passionate for photography, which is why my business has continued to succeed even through a pandemic. We were very scared that my business would have shut down, but with the proper mindset, everything so very fortunately was good for us. But yeah, so just make sure that you're passionate about something, truly passionate about something, and this passion can move you forward.
Okay, thank you so much for listening, everybody. And we hope that you join us next time where we're going to talk to one of the other co-founders of Comet about how he's got the idea for Comet and his contribution to it. And then we'll also talk to a pair of TikToking twins for STEM and youth advocacy. And thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of High School Not So Much a Musical, and a big thank you to Samhith once again. That's our show for today. Now roll the credits. High School Not So Much a Musical is hosted by Ayush Agarwal, Nitin Jaladanki, and Rishi Sinha. Narration by Samhith Padala. Music from Louis Luang Relaxation Cafe, Tune Pocket, and Infraction. If you like the show, please recommend it to your friends and family. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.